Welcome to the Beyond the Years podcast, a podcast about all things Disney.
You're listening to episode 12. So today we're going to be talking about episode 2 and 3 of Miss Marvel. This is going to be less of like a recap as it is more of just our overall thoughts. We'll talk about the plot a little bit, of course, but it's going to be more of like our thoughts on the show so far.
We've been dropping the ball on getting the podcast out because it's hard to do 2 shows and a podcast and living a life. And we both have COVID, so.
Yeah. Definitely having 2 shows dropping on Wednesday on Disney Plus has been a challenge. To even get to watch one of them on Wednesday when it drops has been hard. So now that Obi-Wan Kenobi is wrapped, we'll just have Miss Marvel on Wednesday. So hopefully that'll help us keep up to date with it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, so episode 2, we have Kamala and Bruno trying to train Kamala and have her learn better control of her power and to understand her power a little bit more. Bruno obviously is extremely intelligent, and he's discovered that her power actually comes from her core, not just from the bangle.
Mm-hmm. Also, we've got Nakia and Kamala pretty much. Or Nakia is getting ready to run for the board of the mosque.
Mm-hmm.
So we're building up to that, and
yeah, there's a lot going on. Bruno gets accepted into this Caltech program where he's going to basically be spending a semester away at Caltech. Everything's going to be paid for him, his housing, his food. And because we've been focusing so heavily on Kamala, she's kind of neglected her friends a little bit.
Yeah. And we also get the introduction of a new character, Kamran in the show, and he's like the love interest / I don't know what you want to call it, antagonist of the show, kind of.
Yeah, so when did she first see him? Well, it was at school.
It was at school the first time, and then they met him like officially at Zoe's party, whenever they go to Zoe's party.
Yeah. So Zoe invites him to her party at school, and then obviously we all go to the party. Kamala goes to the party, Bruno goes to the party, Nakia goes to the party. Surprisingly, Kamala's mom was cool with her going to this party.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
Yeah, and I think that's why I really like this show so far, is that like it shows like how parenting should be a little bit, like a little overbearing at times, but she was like, Kamala's like, "Mom, can I please go to this get together? Nakia's going, Bruno's going, there's going to be a bunch of people there." And Maniba's like, "Okay, you can go. You got to be back at like 9:00, and you have to come through the front door instead of going up the window."
Yeah.
So
I love her mom.
Yeah, I do too.
I think she's so great.
Yeah, I love their whole family.
Mm-hmm.
The dad is hilarious. Every time he's on the screen, I like crack up because he's always got some like funny little one-liner, or he's just like telling a story. And like later in the episode, they're talking about Bon Jovi and how Maniba and Yosef met, and it was the whole Slippery When Wet album. They were talking about it. That was just hilarious. Like, if it wasn't for Slippery When Wet, me and your father may have never met. It's just like, I don't know. I guess it just feels more like not a show and like what actually happens in like everyday life. It just feels more like a natural show to me.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit too slow. Like it's taken a little bit too long. There was like some lulls in episode 2 and 3 where I was a little bit bored. So that's just me.
No, I get it. I mean, there's a couple of parts where it's a little slow. Especially in the third episode. I liked episode 2, I think, a lot better than episode 3.
Yeah.
Even though we got like a little bit more like exposition on like what Kamala's powers are in episode 3, and like a little bit more of like the backstory of like her family lineage. But I think that episode 2 was like a better episode because we're getting more interactions with the main 3, Nakia and Kamala and Bruno.
Yeah, so in episode 2, we said, we get Kamran introduced, and Kamala is immediately like drawn to him. She's like the classic teenager with the googly eyes, and like instantly nervous, kind of fumbles around a little bit.
Yeah, whenever she first meets him, he's like, "Hey, I'm Kamran," and she's like, "Hi, I'm," and Nakia's like, "Kamala." She's like, "I'm Kamala."
Yeah, and then
just, I love it. I just love how it's like definitely shows like the teenage aspect of it.
Yeah, the show does a good job at keeping us in check that it's a teenager we're dealing with and not an adult, because a lot of decisions she makes, and a lot of like the way she handles a lot of different situations as an adult, you're like, oh my God, get it together. But she's a teenager, so they do a great job of like keeping us in our place as viewers. But one thing I wanted to say about Kamran and Kamala is that scene where they're kind of like introduced at the party. Mm-hmm. Bruno is standing next to her, and he instantly is just like, oh my God,
I hate this guy.
Yeah, he hates this guy. He definitely has a thing for Kamala, don't you think?
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
He's so sweet.
He's like innocently like has a crush on her, and I think he wants to tell her kind of thing, but they're like such good friends. It's like that weird friend zone situation where he likes her, but he doesn't. I don't think he thinks that she's gonna like. Well, hold on, I said that wrong. I think that he thinks that she won't like him like he likes her.
Yeah, it's really sad. I wonder if we're gonna get that later on in the show, because I think he's adorable. Like, he's just like the perfect man. I mean, he is a really intelligent kid. He's cute. He's funny. He cares so much about her, and that shows in all of his actions.
Oh man,
and
the way he
just interacts
with the family.
Yeah.
Like he even dresses. They go to the Eid party towards the end of the episode, and he even dresses up, like in traditional like Pakistani like Muslim garb.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Is this too bright?" He's talking to Maniba, and she's like, "No, Bruno, it's perfect. It's perfect." And the brother of Kamala is like, "It's too bright." Which I like I said, I love the whole family. Like the brother is hilarious, the dad's hilarious. We got like a little bit more of the brother's wife, which I'm not sure what her name was, and then in this episode and the next episode, and it's just super cool.
Yeah,
like I said, they really nail like the family aspect like extremely well.
So in this episode, we have Nakia running for I can't remember what she was running for. The board
for the mosque.
Yeah, some sort of position on the board.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, that whole story arc was pretty sad, because like Kamala was supportive, but she really wasn't paying that much attention to her.
Yeah, and Nakia is like she's like my favorite character in the show, I think, because she's so interesting, and like she gives like a little like exposition dump of like how she's not like a darker like Pakistani American like colors. She's more like a whiter color, and she says, people think I'm white, people think I'm Pakistani. She's like, that's why I wear the headdress and everything, to make me feel like I am who I am and not like what people want me to be. And I like really like that.
Yeah, that's really strong for a girl her age to be able to recognize that and to find herself in it, I guess, and to not really care what other people think. Yeah. But I thought that was a good thing to kind of bring to light in the show, because I'm sure young girls are going to be watching this show, and maybe someone who's in like a similar situation as Nakia. And hopefully that gives them more confidence to do what they want.
Yeah, and be who you are.
Yeah. But I thought she said she dealt with, a lot of, not like mental health issues, but just a lot of like judgment from that.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that's why I like the character so much, is like, I think Kamala's interesting, obviously, because she's like the star of the show. But I think what makes a show great is when you have the side characters just as interesting and important as like the main character. And I feel like we get like a great mix between like Nakia and Kamala, and then Kamala's family. And then down the road we get Kamran and his family.
Yeah.
So
in episode 2, you said it was the Iyad or Iyad party, where Nakia is like trying to get her name out there that she's running for board for the mosque.
Yeah.
She has a good dialogue with Kamala's dad,
and
trying to convince him to cast his vote for her, even though his best friend is also running.
Yeah, and I love that whenever she's handing out the flyers to Bruno and Kamala, and she's like, "You're gonna talk to this group," and like as they're going through the groups, it's like showing these groups and like how like different they are. So like you got like the mosque bros, and then you got these other Instagram like girls, and then you have the Illuminantes, and I thought that was hilarious. And then so they all have their like assignment, and then she goes, "I'm gonna go work on my white whale," and it's the dad. And I think it's hilarious. It's like a Moby Dick reference.
Yeah. So this is where the young boy is sitting in the window of the mosque. So he's sitting in there's like a tower, and he's sitting in this window trying to take a selfie.
Yeah.
Which, my God, it's ridiculous. But he basically falls out of the window while trying to take a selfie.
Yeah.
And he's hanging on by this curtain, and it like each curtain ring is like breaking off slowly, and so we get him like slowly dropping. He's slowly dropping. He's gonna fall. And so obviously Kamala suits up and goes
pretty quick.
Yeah, not sure how that happened, but
nightlight.
Yeah, I don't know where she's keeping her uniform. Must be in the mosque or something. Or maybe she has a backpack. I don't know. Anyway, so she suits up really quick and then tries to talk him down because he's obviously freaking out. And they discover that he likes ice cream pizza. Yeah,
that was hilarious because she's trying to calm him down, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'm coming. What do you like? What do you like to eat?" And he's like, "I like ice cream pizza." And she's like, "Oh, that's interesting. What's that?" And he's like, "No, I just like putting ice cream on pizza." and then you get the people like down below that are watching, and one of the guys goes, "Did they say ice cream pizza?"
Yeah, and this whole time while they're talking, she's moving extremely slow.
Oh yeah, she's very unsure.
Yeah, she's scared. But he starts to fall, and she kind of knows that she has to hustle, and that's when she like really uses her powers.
Yeah, and everyone down below is calling her. She's like, "Oh, there's Nightlight," which is hilarious because that's the name that she doesn't want.
Yeah. So she is able to use her powers and grab the boy, and then she has a moment where he's not actually like safe yet. He's still kind of in the air sitting on.
He's just on one of the hard light platforms that she made.
Yeah. So he's just sitting there, standing there, and she's like having her moment to celebrate kind of before he's actually safe.
Well, doesn't she get one of those visions?
Oh yeah.
That's what
she was definitely like celebrating though, because everyone down below was like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then she had one of her visions.
Yeah, the light visions that she's been having of her grandma.
Yeah, and
or her great great grandma or great grandma. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, and then he ended up falling, and then she used her hard light to like kind of
stop him.
Yeah, he like, I don't know.
She stopped him, and then it like he fell on top of a car.
Yeah, he ended up.
It like slowed his fall.
Mm-hmm.
But like he was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it was still like an oh my gosh moment. Like she celebrated before like she actually had saved him.
Yeah.
And like to me, I'm like, oh my God, get it together. Like, are you gonna like you want to be a superhero?
Yeah.
Actually save the person and then have your moment.
Yeah.
If that's what we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's gonna be part of the storyline is her maturing into it, and like even we get some of that in episode 3. In the fight scene in episode 3, she starts to mature in her abilities a little bit.
Yeah.
But this scene was like a little frustrating.
Yeah. This is her first save. Well, I mean, other than Zoe, but like her first like suit up, gonna go save this kid save.
Yeah. And so she has to obviously run away because she doesn't want to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want people to know who she is. Really.
Yep.
I mean, she kind of does, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
And so she's running away, and then she starts getting chased by these drones.
Yep. The Department of Damage Control is on to her pretty good. So they start chasing her down. Mm-hmm. And she's running through like alleyways, and she runs like towards a street, and then all the damage control like vehicles just like stop, pull out in front of her, tell her to freeze. She uses hard light, and she like makes like steps and jumps over, and then lo and behold, who's on the other side other than Kamran to save the day.
Yeah, so he pulls up, tells her to get in the car, and she was kind of like taken back that he knew it was her, but then we go to his house.
In episode 3.
Oh. What happens next?
They just drive off, and that pretty much ended the episode. We also get like notable like a little date scene with Kamran and Kamala where they're at that little coffee shop and the brother runs into him.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. And then Zoe gets interviewed by the Department of Damage Control.
Right.
And that's how they figure out like, okay, she's like Muslim American. Mm-hmm. Everyone, we need to check all these different mosques and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they knew like where to look. So that kind of wrapped up episode 2. I thought episode 2 is better than episode 3 because I like them more. I like them dealing with the 3 friends.
Yeah, I thought episode 2 had better pacing than episode 3. I thought the pacing in episode 3 was kind of weird, but
yeah, episode 3 was like a little slow at times.
Okay, so
let's talk about episode 3. So episode 3, we pretty much pick up where we left off in episode 2. Kamala gets in the car. They shut the door, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And he's like, "I want to introduce you to my mother." And the mother in the back's like, "I've been waiting a long time to meet you, Kamala." And then we get like a whole episode of pretty much where Kamala is from.
So his family, Kamran's family, his mother and her friends kind of make it out like they're there to help Kamala like discover more about herself and her lineage and what she is. And they explain to her that she is called a jinn. And I don't really know like what it was clarified to be, like between some sort of like
a genie.
Kind of. Some people call them like demons.
Mm-hmm. Just they're pretty much from another dimension is what the show is saying so far. And that's in this other dimension, I think it's what they call the Noor. Mm-hmm. And that's the light.
The light, yeah.
That they're talking about. And that's what they can't access the light in this dimension, but because Kamala was like part Noor or part jinn, part like our realm.
Yeah. She has access.
Earthly being.
Yes, she has access to the Noor, to the light.
To the light.
And they want to use that to help them get back home to their dimension. And they kind of play nice with her, but you can kind of tell the whole time. Like, I was like, do we like these people? Do we not like these people? I'm not getting a good vibe from them. But like Kamran seemed nice. So,
and he's the only one out of the group that ends up like actually caring.
Yeah. So they had been stuck here for 100 years, right? Or was it
like 100 or 150 years? Is pretty much since like the 1840s, I think, is what they said. I think that's because that's what we get in the beginning of the episode.
Right.
We get Kamala's great grandma.
Isla?
Yeah.
I think it's Isla.
Isla, yeah. And it's like the group that Kamran's mother and like the group that they're with.
Yeah, and they were searching for the bangles, and then Kamala's great grandmother or grandmother, Isla, found one of the bangles and put it on immediately. They weren't able to find the second one, and then like everything was like crumbling around them, so they basically just had to escape. They were separated, and then they never saw her again.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how they ended up finding Kamala unless they just like were like watching the Khan family like this whole time.
Well, the thing about her, Kamala, is that situation where she first used her powers was all over the internet.
I guess that's right. Yeah.
So they would have seen where the venue was and then probably just put two and two together, started looking for signs and that kind of thing, and just found her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely... That was one of the things I was like, man, how did they find her so quick? Or have they been watching
the
her?
internet?
Yeah.
The internet. Okay, so I wasn't like a huge fan of this episode. What else happened?
The wedding.
Oh, right.
For the brother.
That's a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Bruno, this is the episode where Bruno tells
Kamala
about Caltech. And she's kind of like, well, why didn't you tell me sooner? And it's like, because you only care about yourself right now.
Yeah.
Like, you don't...
She's pretty selfish at this moment, yeah.
Yeah, that was really annoying to me. It's like, both Nakia and Bruno are obviously such amazing friends and amazing people. And she's like, not even bothered to ask them about how they're doing. And that was kind of annoying to me. But it's like, again, it's the teenager thing. They don't... It's hard to, like... see beyond yourself sometimes.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. I was gonna say, I think Bruno, I think he's really like, he wants to help Kamala, but at the same time is reluctant to help, because Kamala ends up coming to him in this episode and saying, hey, I know like what I am and what these powers are, and I need your like brains.
Yeah, and he's like, I will do whatever you need me to do, really. Yeah.
But like, it's like reluctantly, I think, a little bit.
I think he's doing it more so because of his feelings and not because he thinks it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, because what he concluded was like enough energy to open up this dimensional barrier is like gonna be as hot as the sun, and it would pretty much destroy the earth.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, that it's like cause mass destruction.
Well, they don't know what exactly is going to happen because it's obviously uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Nothing like this has happened before. He's a really smart kid, but you can't predict the unpredictable like that. I mean, there's only so much science can do and your knowledge. So he knows that it's probably a bad idea for her to help them, and he doesn't really know what their intentions are. I think he's hesitant about their intentions as well. Yeah.
And I think, and a part of it too is because of Kamran, because he doesn't like him. And, like, I don't know if Kamran is doing it on purpose, but every time he sees Bruno, he calls him Brian.
Yeah.
And I think it's like just another jab to Bruno's like mind of like, oh, this guy doesn't give a crap about me. He just cares about Kamala.
Yeah. So a lot of this episode is at Kamala's brother's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a lot.
Yeah, I would say like half of the episode is at the latter half of the episode is that.
So we have the wedding. You want to talk about what happens here?
I mean, they go through like the normal wedding stuff, and towards the reception of the wedding, the evil people, Kamran's family, I don't know what we want to call them, Jinn or...
Yeah, so Kamala had texted Kamran that she wanted to help, but she was going to need more time. Mm-hmm. And so Kamran shows up.
Oh, that's right.
He shows up at the wedding, and she's like, really, dude? Like, this is my brother's wedding right now. Like, can we wait? And he's like, no. Like, my family is going to come and kill everybody.
Yeah.
You need to get everybody out of here.
Yeah. So, I've only watched episode 3 once, and I was listening to it while you were watching it yesterday, so I was like, oh crap, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But so the family, Kamala pulls a fire alarm to get everyone out of there.
Yeah.
And the family starts like barging in, and they start attacking and like using their powers, I guess, against Kamala. Like this one dude had like a whip, and it was like his belt. Like he pulled it off, and he was like using a whip, and this other person was using like a staff or something.
Yeah, they all had their own unique weapon.
Yeah.
That was probably like
Jinn magic.
I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say.
A relic?
Yes. I was thinking about Doctor Strange's cloak.
Yeah, I knew what you were looking for when you were like, I'm trying to think, and I was like, oh, she's thinking of a relic.
Yes. So it's kind of like a relic, I would say.
Yeah.
And then they really just start attacking Kamala.
Yeah. So Kamala is pretty much like defend and run.
Yes, her strategy is hide and run away, and then hide and run away.
We get one cool scene where she like punches.
Yeah.
And it's like her arm and hand like go out, and it's like very reminiscent of what Kamala does in the like comics.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, this whole fight scene was kind of frustrating for me to watch because like she has powers and she is so strong and powerful, and like you can tell she's not confident, which again goes back to like the young teenager thing. She hasn't known about her powers for very long, but like as a viewer I was like, oh my god, get it together. Like you are so strong, like you can just demolish these people.
Yeah.
And instead she just like runs and hides and runs and hides and runs and hides.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a little bit.
Yeah.
At the
end.
And
that's, I mean, just the inexperience. That's what it is. And I think what I like about that at the same time though is like it's very Spider-Man reminiscent of when Spider-Man first got his powers.
Yeah.
Like he's very unsure of like what he can do, and like he's not confident in himself, and like she's the same way. She's not like, she's confident in that like, oh, I can make these steps and I can punch and I can do a couple things, but she doesn't know like her full potential of power.
Yeah.
So I know it's like frustrating, but I do like how they are showing like, oh man, like you are stronger than what you think you are.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand why they did it. I'm not saying it's wrong the way they did it. It's just frustrating as a viewer, which
no, I get it.
It's probably more realistic than just like your typical superhero where they have a 5-minute montage of learning their powers and then they're like good.
Yeah.
But you like when you're in a fight or flight situation and she's kind of flopping.
Yeah.
I was like, flopping. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, man, I can't remember what happens at the end of the episode.
They're just really fighting kind of in the reception area, and then they end up in the kitchen area. Kamala runs into the kitchen. She's like, everybody needs to get out. And the chefs are like, no, we're good. And then
one of the guys gets knocked out.
Yeah, and they're like, we're done.
Yeah.
And then they all kind of leave.
So this whole part is like pretty much Kamala just hiding.
Yeah.
And the Kamran's mom, I don't know if we got the name of what her name is. I think we may have, but I don't remember. But she's pretty much like saying like, you need to help us get home, and like we're gonna take the bangle, like whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And she ends up like making a bunch of noise, and it like shows where Kamala is.
Well, yeah, she does, like, she accidentally makes like a hard light crystal
yeah,
thing happen, and then they see where she's at, and
Yeah.
again we just get the running away, hiding kind of thing.
and like soon after that, Damage Control walks, like barges in and
Yeah, they
arrests
really
them.
they really save the day.
Yeah,
Um,
Kamala gets out of there. She goes through the back, and like as she's going through the back, like Bruno, I think Bruno is with her.
he is with her because he got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like kind of helping carry him. He's like walking, but she's like, he's got his arm around her, and
Yeah,
he's kind of
yeah.
like limping, and they escape through the back, and then she uses a hard light crystal to like keep the door shut,
Yeah,
and then Nakia sees it.
yeah, yeah. That was crazy because Nakia was like, "It's you, it's been you this whole time, and you didn't tell me," which is like another great like. Kamala's like dropping the ball, like because she didn't tell her friends like what's actually going on.
Yeah, I mean, and it sucks because she has such a great support system in her friends and her family. There was a point in this episode, I think it was this episode, where
It's after, I think, of what you're
yeah,
thinking.
so
The mom.
when she was gone for a while with Kamran's family, and she walks back into her house, and her parents were freaked out
Yeah,
because she had disappeared, and her mom was being awesome. She's like, we're here to support you, like tell us what's going on so we can help you.
that was after the wedding.
Was it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
because they're like, where did you go? Like everyone said you pulled the fire alarm. Is that true?
Oh, right. Yeah,
And-
because she had disappeared.
Yeah. So they're all just sitting in there, like Yosef, Maniba, the brother, and then his wife. And then that's what she says, what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, we support you. Like, you got to tell us what's going on. And then Kamala's like, I can't.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that because it's like everyone has to have a support system. And everyone has certain people that they can trust. And she can trust her friends and family.
Yeah.
I mean, just Bruno and Nakia and then her family. If she just told them what was going on, I mean, I think they would be supportive.
Yeah.
I mean, her
guess
mom would
we'll find out more about what Maniba is like actually thinking.
Yeah.
But so that whole thing happens, and towards the end of the episode, I think it's like actually at the end of the episode, the grandma calls
Yeah.
and FaceTimes her, and she's like, Kamala, you need to come here to Karak or
Yeah.
Karachi, I think is what she said. And she's like, you got to come here now. And Kamala's like, I can't just drop everything and go. And she's like, did you see the train? And because she had a vision whenever she was fighting those people.
Mhm.
And she's like, yeah, I saw the train. She's like, I saw it too. You got to come here now.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where the episode ends. So next week, we might be traveling to
I think
India
so, but it's like
or wherever she's got to go.
I hope Kamala is more honest with her family about what's going on,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
because her
episode 3 was definitely frustrating.
yeah, but her mom, I don't know how supportive she's going to want to be about her traveling, because she doesn't seem to have a great relationship with her mom,
Yeah.
the grandma.
Oh, Maniba having a relationship with the grandma?
Yeah.
Or with her mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because I think part of it is that in episode 2 they talk about like Maniba's family escaping Pakistan and all that. And she said pretty much that the great grandma or the grandma got like brought great shame to the family, and she's been running from that like her whole life.
Yeah,
So I think that may be why.
we'll get a lot more backstory.
Yeah, I think this next episode is definitely going to be like a exposition dump of like what is really happening with like her powers and like the grandma knowing and everything.
Yeah.
But I think episode 4 will be much better than episode 3. And I think episode 3 was one of those not filler episodes, but it felt a little fillery.
Yeah.
Because it's got to build up to like a more of a grand story, and like I think it's just a stepping stone to like we got to get this out of the way so we know what she is, so we can go on to the next part kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But definitely liked episode 1 and 2 a lot better than episode 3.
Yeah, episode 2 was really good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of it on the series.
I mean, overall, I like the show a lot more than I was expecting to like the show. I didn't really know anything about it until
you started watching it.
Yeah. I mean, I knew very little about it, and I honestly didn't really care. Probably wouldn't have watched it if we weren't doing this podcast, but I'm glad that I'm watching it because it's pretty good.
Yeah, you were whenever she was watching it yesterday, she was watching it on our phone, episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And you were laughing pretty good on episode 2. Like there was a couple there's a couple really funny moments in episode 2, and like you were laughing pretty hard.
Yeah.
Which is like, I know when your fake laugh is happening and when your like genuine laugh is happening. It was like, oh, that's a genuine laugh and not like a ha ha ha. It was like a ha 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 laugh. So,
yeah.
A couple quick things before we wrap up the episode. Thor: Love and Thunder. We are getting very close.
Oh my gosh.
To Thor: Love and Thunder. We are, let's see, about a week.
Week and a
half from going to see it, because we are going to see it on July 7th at 7 p.m. at IMAX. So it's super exciting. So we're getting really close.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the world premiere happened the other day, and it's already getting great like reception. Like it
is gonna be so freaking good. We've talked about this like several times about like preferences, and like I think it's gonna be the perfect combination of like action and adventure, comedy and romance.
Yeah,
and that is my jam.
Well, that's what everyone has been hyping up, is that this is such a good like happy like rom-com like space adventure. Like Chris Hemsworth called it a romantic space adventure.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that's amazing.
there's gonna be something in it for everyone. So I think a lot more people, like even people who haven't necessarily watched the movies in the MCU because they don't care about superhero movies, like I think that they still might go see this.
Yeah, and what I've heard, it's very similar to Ragnarok in the comedy. One person I saw said that some of the comedy is like a little forced, but that's, sometimes preference on like what people think.
Yeah. Some
people think, some one-liners are funny and others don't. But I think from what I've read, it's going to be a more developed story than Ragnarok, as in like the chemistry and the characters and like what's actually going on with like the romance.
Yeah.
In the movie. I think it makes it like a little bit more of a richer film with like that element with romance and stuff. So we've already watched a couple clips. The 2 clips that I've watched where she throws Mjolnir and it like splits apart.
That was crazy.
And it comes back together in like pieces. So we watched that clip that released a couple days ago. And there's another clip I have to show Ashley, but it's like nothing spoiler, but it's just like enough to get you like, oh my gosh, this movie is going to be hilarious. So we are both extremely excited about that movie. And whenever we watch it, we will definitely be doing a first reaction podcast as soon as we get home.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be late. It'll be like 9:30 or 10 o'clock when we get home, but we will definitely be watching or be doing a podcast.
We'll be too excited.
Yeah. So we'll be jotting down our thoughts on the drive home.
Yeah.
But this is getting close to that movie, and I think that's really the only other Marvel thing that we've got other than Miss Marvel coming out at the moment. I think there's some more stuff coming down the road, but on Disney Plus, but I'm not sure what it is. She-Hulk, I think, is getting pretty close to coming out. But right now we're just in Miss Marvel and Thor: Love and Thunder world, so.
Yeah, and we're kind of doing a Star Wars rewatch.
Yes.
So.
And I think the best way to do that is we've already watched 1 and 2.
Yeah.
and we'll watch 3 next. And I think what we'll do is just do like our thoughts on episode 1, 2, and 3,
Maybe.
and not doing.
We might do podcasts, we might not, but we're definitely doing a rewatch. And I can say just from like just rewatching 1 and 2 and 2 yesterday, like you see so much more as an adult and someone who's like trying to pay attention. Like the darkness in Anakin is there even in the first movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's just crazy. In the second movie, it's there a lot of the movie. He's just extremely defiant. But anyway, so we're doing a Star Wars rewatch. I'm excited. I haven't seen the original movies in quite a few years, I think. And then I haven't seen all of the new ones either.
Yeah.
So I'll have to watch those.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I'm enjoying. It's been a minute since I've watched 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. We'll probably watch 3 tonight. I'm really excited. I think 3 is going to be the best of the prequels.
Yeah.
I've seen them all before, and I've always liked 3 the best. But it also sucks because obviously that's when Anakin turns into Darth Vader, and nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah,
but it does.
Padme dies, so.
It's
I think the trilogy, the prequel trilogy definitely goes. 3 is the best, 2 is the second best, 1 is the worst.
Yeah.
Even though I told you the other day, like when we were watching episode 1, I was like, I love episode 1 for what it is because that's what I watched as a kid all the time.
Yeah, and episode 1 is a lot better than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
Like I was pretty maybe it's because I'm so excited about Obi-Wan Kenobi right now, but I was pretty invested when we watched the first episode. Like I try not to play on my phone.
Well, and I think a part of it too is Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh yeah.
I think it sucks that he died in that movie, but I mean obviously necessary, and like we can go like into a whole deep Star Wars episode. We'll have to because like I'm pretty like Star Wars pumped right now. Yeah. But I think they should make since we get like a Marvel What If series.
Yes.
I think they can make a Star Wars What If. So like what if Qui-Gon Jinn didn't die?
Oh my god.
What if Padme survived? Or like what if Anakin went to the light side? What if Kenobi went to the dark side when Dooku in the second episode asked Kenobi like join me? Like what if Kenobi said, "Okay, I'll join you." So many things. There's so many things that you could do with a Star Wars What If. And it could be animated like they do. I know, but I love live action. Yeah, I know, but I think it would be too much money. And then like an animated show could be like super cool. We'll see. It would be so worth it. I feel like they probably will do that because people have been talking about like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series really gave people a new perspective on Darth Vader and really helped to understand like the internal struggle he has between the light side and the dark side and like Anakin and Vader. Yeah. And that kind of brought a whole bunch of things to light for people, and I think they sympathize with the character a lot more. And like we all wanted that not to happen to him. And it was really painful to watch. So yeah, I think we all just want a what if about like if he never went to the dark side and became Vader. Yeah. And especially with like young Luke and Leia, like seeing those kids being raised by other people, like we talked about in our podcast when we talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi, like I want to see Padme and Anakin raising these kids. Yeah. And I think a lot of people want that. So we might get it. Yeah. And I mean, Natalie Portman is in like good graces right now with Disney. Yeah. Being back in Thor, and like I think she would be down to come back and voice, like if they did like an animated What If show for Star Wars. I think most of the characters would be back to come like voice their characters. Yeah, I mean, I think like Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen both are super invested right now. I think we all agree that Obi-Wan Kenobi like wrapped the series, and we don't need any more Obi-Wan Kenobi, like that series. That should be done. But
getting a what if, I think that would be cool. And I think everyone would be excited at the opportunity to still do something else in Star Wars.
Yeah. And it makes me really, watching the prequels makes me want to watch Clone Wars. The animated.
I was talking about that this past week, with one of my people at work.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you've got to watch the Clone Wars. It's so good. And I was like, I don't really want like the, the animated stuff. But he said it was really, really good. So
yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
How many seasons are there?
7. And they're like,
they're
23 episodes in a season.
And they're like short episodes, 20 minutes.
I think it depends.
God, that's a huge commitment.
Yeah. I think they're like 30 minutes. They might be an hour.
But Hayden Christensen watched all of it to prepare for the role.
Yeah.
Which I love about him. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and like I don't think the characters in that show were voiced by like Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen.
No, because I don't think so, because he watched the show to kind of keep up with.
But the voice what I was gonna say is the voice actors that do their voices are like, it's pretty convincing. So like if we did a what if and we didn't get like the actual people back, like I think it would still be really good. But man, I'm telling you, a what if Star Wars would be so freaking cool.
Yeah, and it would make so much money. Like I know you said doing a live action would be too expensive. It would be really expensive, but you know how many people would just bring
a lot of subscribers to Disney Plus because it'd come on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but so many people would watch it.
Yeah, and I mean, where Disney makes a lot of their money is merchandise.
Yeah.
So like the amount of toys you can get with like a what if Kenobi turn to the dark side like action figure.
Yeah.
Or I mean just because that's where Disney makes their money. Like a lot of people don't realize like Star Wars and Marvel make a good chunk of their money from merchandise, selling all their stuff.
Yeah.
So because I mean it's kind of cheap to make, and they sell those little action figures, like the Marvel ones, the Marvel Legends. They sell them for like $20 a piece. Mm-hmm. And there's no telling what they cost to make.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just something that would be really cool to watch anyway.
Yeah.
Even if they did like one season and they only had like a couple episodes, it'd be really fun.
Yeah, they could do like a mini series, 6 episodes.
Or do multiple seasons, I mean.
Oh, I'm game for whatever. I hope it happens.
There's a lot of cool stuff they could do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they could talk about the prequels, the sequels, and the original trilogy.
And the thing is, it's a what if, so it doesn't change Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Star Wars is Star Wars. The real Star Wars storyline is what it is. It happened. It's sad because, like, when you watch 4, 5, and 6, you're so far from Vader. Like, it's not like a personal thing. But the prequels and then Obi-Wan Kenobi made us have feelings for Vader.
Yeah.
And we see him as a human being and a person more. And we see that internal struggle. But in 4, 5, and 6, it's not like a sad thing because we don't know Vader.
Yeah.
At that point, really.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can't change Star Wars, but you can, do the what ifs.
Yeah. I think, like, man, I just had a good one in my head. What if Han Solo become a Jedi?
Oh, that'd be cool.
I mean, there's so many things you could do. Or like, what if instead of going to Dagobah, Yoda went somewhere else and like actually trained Jedi, and didn't like put himself in like isolation.
Yeah.
Because watching Yoda in episode 2 last night was like, holy crap, he's so good. He's so strong.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, we probably need to wrap this up because this is turning into a Star Wars rant episode.
That's okay.
So I'll let you do the closing statement here.
Yeah. So I guess by this, just based on our conversation, we'll probably do a couple more Star Wars podcast rewatch episodes.
We're going to try to do a Disney animation top 10 list tomorrow.
Yeah. We're always, this is a very small podcast, but we have got a lot of great ideas we're excited about. And I think now that we've only got the one show on Disney Plus that we're going to have to keep up, I think we'll do a little bit better of a job at actually keeping up with it. But make sure you give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening on. Make sure if you're able to like the video on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, share it with your friends. That's a great way for us to grow and reach more people. And we thank everyone for listening if you're still here, and we hope you have a good day.
See you next time.